Tonight, we unravel a story that will send shivers down your spine. A teenager, alone in the attic of his grandparents' house, discovers an old radio, a relic of the past that should have remained forgotten. At first, it seems harmless, just a nostalgic piece crackling to life. But then, it whispers his name. The voices lurking in the static grow clearer, more insistent, more demanding. And when the radio commands him to open the door, the nightmare truly begins. Are you ready to listen? It started with a storm. Rain slashed against the windows, and the attic smelled of old wood, dust, and something else, something stale and wrong. The teenager had been rummaging through forgotten boxes when his fingers brushed against something cold. An old radio, a hulking vintage piece, its dials worn, its wooden casing cracked like old bones. It shouldn't have worked after all these years. But when he plugged it in, it did. The speakers hummed, static bleeding through, and then a whisper. His name. Soft at first, buried beneath the white noise, but unmistakable. His throat tightened, eyes darting around the attic, as if expecting to find someone there. But he was alone, completely alone. Or so he thought. The house settled with groaning wood as the teenager sat frozen, staring at the radio. The whispers had stopped, just static, crackling like distant fire. Maybe it was a coincidence, a trick of the storm, the wind warping sounds through old circuits. That's what he told himself. But when he reached out to turn the dial, the whisper returned. I see you. The blood in his veins turned to ice. He yanked his hand back, heart hammering. The radio had no microphone, no way to respond, and yet it had spoken. He grabbed the power cord, ready to unplug it, but his fingers stopped inches from the socket. A new whisper slithered through the static, closer this time. Don't turn me off. His breath hitched. The attic, once merely dusty and old, now felt suffocating, like something unseen was watching from the shadows. That night, sleep was impossible. The whisper haunted him. It was in his ears, in his head, even when the radio was off. Every creak of the floorboards made him flinch. Every gust of wind sounded like something moving just outside his door. The next evening, he made a mistake. He turned the radio on again. At first, silence, just the usual hiss of static. But then, I remember your house. He bolted upright. The air in the room grew dense, charged with something unseen, something waiting. I remember your room. The voice was no longer just a whisper. It was a breath at the back of his neck. His pulse pounded so hard he could hear it in his skull. Then the words changed. The whisper curled into something that no longer sounded human. I remember where you sleep. The teenager slammed the radio off. But it was too late. At 3:07 a.m., the radio turned on by itself. The static roared, filling the room, filling this head. The teenager sat bolt upright, shaking, unable to breathe. The air was thick, suffocating. The feeling of being watched was unbearable. Then the whisper returned, stronger, louder, more insistent. Open the door. His stomach dropped. The radio's dial spun wildly, the voice twisting and morphing into something dark and unfamiliar, something hungry. Open the door. A knock echoed through the house. The teenager squeezed his eyes shut. No, it was impossible. No one was outside. No one should be outside. And yet, from the hallway beyond his bedroom, another knock. A shuffling sound, like someone shifting from foot to foot. The radio's whisper grew urgent. Open the door. The teenager's body refused to move, paralyzed by fear. Then the doorknob rattled. Slow, deliberate, testing. Tears stung his eyes as he stared at the door, hands clenched into fists. The rattling stopped. Silence. For a moment he thought it was over, that he had imagined it all, that the whispers had been nothing but a sick trick of the mind. And then, a final whisper, so close it could have been inside the room. "I'm already inside." Some things should never be found. Some voices should never be heard. The teenager never spoke about what happened that night. The radio was destroyed, smashed into pieces, and buried deep in the woods. But sometimes, when the house was quiet, when the wind howled just right, a voice could still be heard, whispering through the static of an unseen signal. Calling a name. Waiting for someone to listen. Would you turn the radio on?